Hi everyone! Today we're testing out various varnishes and glazes with air dry foam clay, and I even have a surprise do-it-yourself glaze at the end, which we will discuss, and I'll also show you how to prepare it. Here we're starting with Vallejo PU Varnish, that's Polyutheran Varnish. Oh, and just so you know, I made a dark and a light clay sample for each varnish and glaze, so it basically helps you to understand how the surface looks like on different colored clay pieces. I didn't have any black, so I just took this really dark purple and light blue, and later when we have the swatch tests, the test in daylight, you will see how it behaves and how it reflects the light or not. We will see. Okay, so just real quick, the one prior was the Padico Super Gloss, and now I'm applying the Padico Matte Varnish. That is not a gloss. It's supposed to be like a satiny finish. We're moving on to Kreul Art Potch, and this one applies also with a brush. This is the glossy one. I also have a semi-matte satin finish one, which I will show next. I want to say that pretty much all the varnishes apply the same. Here is the semi-matte one, and obviously that one will dry matte when it's finished. Last one is the Kreul Acrylic Varnish, and I have to say, it stinks to high heavens. I got such a bad headache from it. I do not recommend using this just off the bat, and if you must, please wear some kind of respiratory mask, open windows, open the doors, because I feel like it's really toxic. The solvents in there, man, they take the paint off the wall. All right, last one, Fimo Gloss Varnish. It's actually meant for polymer clay. Okay, so here we have the results after one coat and after having it dried for, a night. Trying to catch the natural daylight here. Okay, so these are matte anyways. Matte. Obviously, no reflection. I think I need to take it over to the window. Okay, this is the best I can do. So, Vallejo is quite reflective. The Padico gloss is reflective. The matte one obviously not. This one. Now Art Potch gloss is also reflective. Art Potch matte is obviously not reflective, though it has a satin finish. And Fimo Gloss Varnish looks quite matte to me, rubbery gummy. Certainly not as glossy as the Art Potch, and definitely not as glossy as the Padico one. Let's see what else. The last one I will do, that would be the wood and glue plus water mixture, so I have to do that one. So to make a home glaze, you will need water and you will need some wood glue, and you need to make sure that it dries transparently or else it's not going to work out. Get yourself a little bowl or anywhere where you can mix your medium. Gotta be a little bit more generous. And then I would recommend, sorry for my voice, I'm still under the weather. Get yourself a spoon and just spoon a little bit at a time in there until you have the consistency you wish. So obviously, depending on what you're trying to do, what type of gloss finish you want, thicker or thinner, you will need more or less glue, more or less water. Great. No, I just got my hands dirty. Hang on. Right. So this one is super runny. I think I wanted a bit more syrupy. I think that's what I'm going for. Not exactly as thick as honey, but more like maple syrup, if that makes sense. So I'm adding a tad bit more glue. And I was thinking, I mean, in theory, you could maybe even go in. Yeah, let's try that. Why not? You could maybe even go in and use the glue pure. Should we try that? Let's try that. Why not? Let's do half-half. Okay, let's do 1/2 with a water glue mixture and the other half pure glue. That's going to be interesting. All right, so I'm not sure if it's visible. Let me spoon it. So it's not as drippy as pure water. It's not as thick as honey. I think this is how thin I want it. I'm trying not to catch too many air bubbles. And let's move to the furthest most tile. Man, my English is broken today. I'm sorry. These, okay? So 1/2 I'm painting with the mixture. And here we have pure wood glue. It is thick. It has more a consistency of acrylic paint, I think. And I'm curious. I have no idea what the result is going to be, as I have never tried it pure. So the other half I'm just gonna paint. Ugh, I don't like it. Oh, this is streaky. Okay, that was kind of foreseeable, but it's just an experiment, isn't it? Let me zoom it in. It's just an experiment. And I love experiments, they're so fun. Sometimes you just don't know what you get, and I find it exciting to leave the subjects alone and come back and see what happened. Makes me feel like a mad scientist. Okay, let me just wipe off the surplus. Obviously, as you can see, there's texture. Obviously, the texture will be visible. Like, I'm not expecting it to smooth out or anything, but I just want to see how reflective that is. So you see what the medium looks like pure and diluted. And yeah, so I want to speak about the results we had made prior with the different products. So unfortunately, I don't have direct sunlight right now, but I'm trying to just describe what I see, and especially what I smelled last night when I applied the various varnishes and glazes. So out of all of these that are commercially available in Europe, in Japan, and also in the United States, the most disappointing one concerning gloss finish, I would say, is definitely the Fimo here. Granted, it is actually made for polymer clay, and I have used it on polymer clay, and the results were mediocre. Let's put it that way. It had more like a satin finish, rubbery finish, but not glossy. Certainly nothing like UV resin at all. So I didn't reach for it much. And since the foam air dry clay or the very soft air dry clay, depending what label you buy, those terms are used interchangeably, which makes everything super confusing. I was thinking about actually making a video on the differences. But yeah, in any case, it's not meant for that. Fimo Gloss Varnish is meant for a smooth surface. And foam air dry clay is not smooth. It has more of a spongy texture. It has tiny little pores. So obviously any product will sink in there, and if it sinks in there thoroughly, you don't have that smooth closed surface. And if you don't have a smooth closed surface, it's not going to reflect light. If it doesn't reflect light, it's not going to be glossy. Makes plenty sense, doesn't it? Vice versa, matte finishes like the Padico Matte here or the Kreul Art Potch matte, they create a textured surface. So if you paint something with it, it dries kind of porous. It creates that, I don't want to say disrupted surface, but more like a suede surface, and therefore light does not bounce off it. And yeah, I think Padico is gorgeous. It's right here. It looks very velvety, very velvety. And the Kreul one is also velvety, but yesterday when I applied it, I felt like, it's this one, I felt like it streaked. It was a little bit difficult for me to apply with this flat brush. I felt like the brush strokes were showing and it was hard to get it even. Nevertheless, I think it's a decent result, and bear in mind my examples, my little, my goodness, my scrap clay, that's the word I was looking for, my scrap clay is not super smooth. So the smoother your clay, the smoother your varnish on top is gonna be, the glossier is gonna be anyways, or the more flawless your matte finish will look like. Concerning the other glosses, I would say another downfall is for me the acrylic varnish. First and foremost, it is so solvent, it's so solvent heavy. Let me turn this. They're much better. I'm sorry about this. I'm still getting the hang of it. So let me use my brush. This one, acrylic varnish. It is so solvent heavy that I had an instant headache. You need to absolutely wear a mask, and I'm meaning a respiratory mask, something that filters the solvent through your breathing air, because it's poisonous. You're literally breathing in poison, which is okay if you have a mask. I mean, if you're painting a house or something, I hope you're surely not doing that without a mask anyway, if there are solvents in your paint, because you're setting yourself up for some lung cancer. Let me tell you, don't be dismissive with your health. So in any case, this one, disgusting. The result didn't work here at all. Even though I applied it, when I applied it, it was so smooth. It looked almost like the Padico one, the Super Gloss, but it kind of dried down matte. Yeah, so you can disregard this. Cancelled. In my opinion, the best glosses were the Padico Super Gloss, which was also made for air dry clay glazing. I did like also, as you can see, this one, the Kreul Art Potch. There's not much of a difference really. I feel like the Super Gloss applied a bit more smoother. You don't see the brush strokes much. You see them more here and here. Let me show you again. So if you cannot get your hands, or if you don't want to import from Padico, try Kreul Art Potch, the glossy one. There's two different pots. Make sure it says glossy on it. I would say third place goes to the Vallejo Polyutheran Varnish. It's not bad. Let me show you. It's not bad, but it's not great either. The Padico Super Gloss beats it by lengths, and so does the Art Potch. All right, that was it for now. I can try to actually make a second coating. I was thinking about applying a second coating, though I feel like I don't think it's gonna change the outcome much, especially not for the ones that failed, like the acrylic gloss or like the Fimo one. It would just amplify the results already given, right? So all we have to do is wait for the wood and glue water to dry, and then I will show you the finished results. That would be awesome. If this works out like a charm, that would be great, because I feel like this is most accessible to everyone. Pretty much in any country you live in, you can get yourself some type of wood glue. It doesn't have to be this brand. Since I'm based in Germany, This is what we have. I'm sure there's more different ones, but that's what I picked up in my local store. And I will take you along. So stay tuned for the reveal of the final glaze. Okay, so the results are in. This is the wood glue and water mixture, as you might remember. Let me zoom in. Basically, I'm sorry, this is just my light in the room, it's dark out, but I can assure you, we had one half that was pure glue here and here, and then the other one was diluted wood glue with water. And I have to say, it's not that great. I mean, surprisingly, I'm not sure if it's visible. Let me try to get a separate light. But what I can tell you meanwhile is, surprisingly, the side where I had pure glue turned out to be much glossier. Much glossier. I'm trying to use an external light source. Okay. Maybe you see the reflection up here compared to this one. And this was basically the same sample. Yeah. I was a bit surprised because I will show you why. I've done a few creations like this one. Okay. There's a tutorial for this one if you want to know exactly how I did it. But in essence, the difference is that I had to mix in acrylic paint. So as you can see, it is glossy. It is glossy and way, way glossier than my homemade glaze. And I'm thinking it has to do with the acrylic paint, obviously. Acrylic paint, there's another component in it which reflects. So that would explain it. And it's still a learning and a teaching because it means you can simply go ahead and mix paint with water and wood glue to the thickness that you want, and you will get a very nice, look how reflective it is, very nice and glossy finish. Let me show you something else. This is another of my creations. Here, I used diluted glue with water, and I just remembered that I had to put on multiple coatings. The clay that is underneath the glue is not foam air dry clay or soft air dry clay. This is, I don't know if you can hear it, pretty solid. This is resin clay. Still air drying clay, but resin clay. This is much harder and much heavier. The surface also, as you can see, is much smoother. So it worked out better. However, I needed to take multiple coats to get this result, which I'm happy with. So wood glue with a little bit of water is still working well on resin clay. This one, just so you know, can you hear that? This is very foamy, very soft, very light. It's not squishy, but it's almost like styrofoam. So what are we learning here, people? We're learning that unfortunately for the foam air dry clay type, water and glue is not the best glaze, even though it's the cheapest and most affordable, most accessible, not affordable. To me personally, the best one for glossy finish was the Padico Super Gloss, followed by the Kreul Art Potch gloss. And third place was the Vallejo Polyutheran Varnish. It's not great, but it's okay. When it came to matte finishes, varnishes, I still think Padico is the best here, closely followed by Kreul Art Potch Matte. And yeah, the rest, forget about it. You don't even need to look at Fimo, and definitely I do not recommend using acrylic varnish from any brand with this type of clay, with foam air dry clay or soft air dry clay, the porous, this one. Yeah, that one, not this one. We can do another one we can do another test if you want to find out how it behaves with resin clay. Okay, let me know in the comments down below if you want to see that. If you don't want to see that, that's totally cool. But it helps me make hopefully interesting videos. And if you have any other ideas, just let me know. Until then, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!